And this is very kind of minor things, obscure things, but there are, for instance, television programs where, like, we can see very much of the things that we've used to think of as, in a sense, magical terms, or at least in the showbiz sense, magicians doing their tricks and whatnot. There's TV programs now revealing all of the tricks. They're revealing how the secrets, how we've been fooled all these years. And when I see things like that, I can't help to imagine what the new tricks are, so to speak, what the new magic is. And I think that that's what you just brought up comes into play, Freeman. They have a whole new set of a kind of scientific, technological magic now that they can put on us, and they know exactly what buttons to push at what specific time. And the old, if you will, magic is kind of a little bit done with or over, and now we can be shown even how we've been tricked in the past. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, if you look back at Heron in ancient Rome, who was designed the steam engine in ancient Rome and was able to use these type of technologies to fool the people into coming into particular churches. So he would set up gears and levers so when the priests came outside of the church and lit the fire, this fire then started a mechanism that opened the doors, and it appeared that God was alive inside of this church, and they would fool you to go in.
Showbiz.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you watch like the new magicians, David Blaine and the other one, you'll see that when the people respond to their magic, they either call him Jesus or Satan. You know?
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, it's so much just show, and again, that does not mean that it isn't occult or it isn't a hidden factor here. Again, I think that this has always been the roots of the occult as well, to simply, as the word means, to keep something hidden, to not give you the full truth. And in that sense, it doesn't really matter if it's, quote unquote real or not. It just, what matters is if the people who are looking at it are tricked by it or fooled by it. That's all that matters, in a sense, in the realm of magic. Do you know what I mean, Freeman?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they are. Let's keep in mind that the grid, which was was launched back when they thought they were going to get CERN running, the grid, 55,000 computers all interlinked with dedicated fiber optic lines. They're hoping to have 200,000 computers to make a major computing power. Has the ability to generate holograms. And we're starting to see more and more holograms. Of course, the first one we saw was on American Idol with Elvis and Celine Dion. That was a mind blower. But now I think Prince William and even the Queen have made appearances as holograms.
Yeah.
So we got to realize that we can no longer trust our feelings, our sights, our senses anymore. They're all under attack with these acts of prestidigitation, if you want to take that term for stage magic,
Hey, I just thought of something when you mentioned like computing power and in connection with the web. I'm just thinking if what we're seeing here with the internet as well might be the building of the largest computer obviously ever made, meaning that if everyone has fiber optics connected to their computer, we have lightning fast communication between computers and so forth. Let's say that the network, all our computers were hijacked in some sense or another, if they aren't already. I wonder what they could do with computing power like that. What I'm getting at is that they've handed us or given us, in a sense, we've bought them, of course, and put them in our homes voluntarily, but it's a whole lot of computing power in the millions and millions of computers that we're all collectively having in our houses. I wonder if they could use potentially some of that for some type of what you're mentioning here, Freeman, some type of holographic computation, or to do some extravagant show, as it were, to put something on. I don't know, just a thought that came to me when you mentioned about that.
Well, when you couple this with the new high-def television that they're trying to force on everyone when no one has any money to get a high-def television or pay for it, and they're offering, coupons so that you can get your high-def TV if you're too poor, which of course everybody is. Couple this with these new fluorine light bulbs, the light bulbs that they're forcing on Australia and strongly promoting as these green light bulbs. The fluorine gas is based on fluoride, and therefore, if you've got the internet pulsing through the electrical lines as they're going to do, then these can also be used as hypnotic type tools. So, everything starts being put in place, and it's all being brought and sold to us as green politics.
Yeah.
Even the green president, which would go back to Osiris, but
yeah, there you go. And and it's all being under. It's very cleverly played out, and again, the fact that they can institute global politics under the umbrella of the green, revolution in a sense, as it were, is really. It's really clever. It's well done, and people really don't care about the facts anymore because it's just, it's hip to belong to whatever it is that is the latest fad, and this is it. That's what we're watching right now.
Absolutely, and this goes into my concept of them needing our approval. This idea of you giving your free will agreement, and so we start to give our free will agreement by accepting these ideas and saying, yeah. And many people, they put out the Club of Rome put out Limits to Growth, and they're putting it through all the college campuses. I had to read it. And it's all these statistics saying that we're overpopulating the planet and we all need to die. And then, we're trained to agree with this. And so pretty soon we're going to be agreeing with the idea of, eugenics and the idea of bringing the population down to 500 million, like the Guidestone says. Even the Pope has come out about eugenics just recently, saying that there's this fear of these new genetically crafted children and the eugenics of beauty, that they want to kill off the people that aren't perfect.
Really?
And the Pope just came out with that.
That's interesting, and I definitely want to read more on that. And again, I've sporadically put up articles about the new type of green warriors, and that they call this is what they call themselves. They're fighting for the earth, as it were, and what I've seen so far is that it's none of these kids are doing it obviously from their own inspirational force, as it were. That they're doing it because their professor or their teacher or whoever it was have been, it seems to me, very much indoctrinated them into this whole new, the new religion, basically, of going green. And these, kids are following up on this and bringing this back home to the parents. And I've seen incredible stuff where they're like tuning the parents to, put out the lights and, keep the thermostat down. And so it's cold inside the house. And it's really much also connected with the idea that we're going back to the kind of feudal state of things. And we're going actually backward in a sense. Aren't we allowed to even keep our houses warm anymore? What the heck is going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting outside control. They're giving control over to it, saying, here I'm going to allow. They're putting in new thermostats in the houses that are operated from outside of the home, that they can turn off your thermostat if they wish. We're definitely allowing it all to come into our home in this way. And the computer itself, to me, was always very curious, because when you start to dig into the computer, you realize that everything that makes a computer is subterranean. And back when I was deep into UFOs, grays, and abduction stories, I'm looking at the computer as this subterranean technology, the quartz crystal that's, your chip. Yeah. And then the gases, the gold, and the silicon, everything inside your computer is subterranean technology, which is, to me, very curious.
That's interesting. That's a good point.
And now Google is coupling with the Obama administration. That became big news not long ago. Of course, Google's motto is "Don't be evil." But when you realize how much data we have put on Google, how much data we've filled out in our Facebooks and MySpaces, and we could, they couple Google with the grid, and pretty soon they can just form simulation worlds and see what it is that we will do. They could, profile us very easily with that type of computing power.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a good point as well. I think that all this, the surveillance grid basically that is being put out there or instigated. I think it's not as much as to individually snoop on people in that sense, but they're after the demographical perspective on this. They want to have huge amounts of data on everyone, and then I don't think that they really care about individuals. Of course, they can use that if they need to, if that is the case, if they need to track one specific individual at one point, that can be done as well. But mainly the overarching idea here, I think, is to create or gather as much data as possible on huge populations, and in that sense bring out the statistics on that in order to, as you say, Freeman, plug it into a supercomputer or some other machine that can computate these numbers, and then they can basically, as it were, predict the future in a little sense. And it's that too is very much kind of it's highly occult in its nature to be able to peer into the future, as it were, in order to predict things and in order to strategically place yourself in the right position at the right time in order to steer entire populations. You know what I mean?
Certainly. It'd be a lot easier than like what they did with H.G. Wells in the War of the Worlds. They can now just do it in the computer instead of having to see what the reaction would be by publicizing it.
Yes, and then there's the question of if that's going to be correct. Of course, that's another story. But what is interesting here is that I think that they're trying to do this, so we can see the motivation here, at least, of what their wet dream is, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Now, before my computer died, I had given you a nice, eloquent explanation of the the space race with China and these incoming meteors. Did you catch any of that?
No.
I cut off before that.
No, I didn't do anything. Maybe we can kind of begin to round off on that point for the first segment and then carry on in the next one. But do finish up that point, Freeman, that you were making.
Okay, well, we were looking into Werner von Braun. I don't know. Did any of that come across?
You just got cut off when you talked about basically the Hadron Collider and the technology that they are building and that we do not get to use, basically.
Right. Okay. Well, so now we're looking as Obama is pushing forth legislation to couple NASA, which of course is a Freemasonic Nazi organization, with the DoD. We discussed that, right?
Yes.
So in Werner von Braun's enemy list that we were looking at to sustain this war mode, there was of course the Cold War. And we need to realize Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt were all Freemasons, that they are not warring against each other, they're warring against you. The next part was the terrorists, and of course we know Osama bin Laden is nothing but a prop of the American military. It's all for show. But the next step in Werner von Braun's list was asteroids.
Yeah.
Now, the idea of the asteroid, many people are looking for blue beam, and I'm saying, well, no, the next step in the list was asteroids, and so I highlighted this in my HARP documentary when in December of '99, a meteor struck right over the HARP facility. That this meteor came in, and on January 8th, directly over the HARP facility, as if someone had guided this meteor straight at the HARP facility as they were testing it as a meteor deflection shield, as they were getting ready to make it the missile defensive shield and shift it over to Space Command at Cheyenne Mountain. Just before this, this meteor comes in and hits the atmosphere and explodes with a sonic boom. And now this is a strange note because most meteors do not create a sonic boom. And then this was followed just a couple hours later by a massive earthquake in Anchorage.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got this meteor with its bright orange flash, and then a sonic boom, clouds disperse at 1,000 miles, and then an earthquake follows this. So I knew that this was going to be important, and this is why I documented it in the HARP video, was so that people would remember this time and be able to correlate it when the next ones start coming, which it